He divorced me and left me with 2 little kids just like that. Said I was holding him back. Said she was everything I wasn't. Before you hear my story, tap subscribe and drop a comment if you have ever been discarded like old news, then made them regret it. Have you ever had to rebuild from nothing? Or watched someone walk away, thinking you'd stay broken forever, only to rise in a way they never saw coming? I remember the morning he left. The coffee was still warm, the twins were still sleeping, and the suitcase by the door. That was the only warning I got. My heart just isn't in this anymore, he said, as if love were a lease he forgot to renew. No tears, no guilt, just a look in his eyes like I had somehow failed him by not being her. Or the younger, richer girl with a luxury car and a smile that had never been stained by postpartum depression or nights rocking colicky babies while bleeding from a C-section. He walked out on me like I was a chapter he regretted writing. But that chapter was just the prologue. Because what he didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was that I'd already started building something. Something slow, quiet, unstoppable. Business, future. A legacy he'd never be rich enough to buy into. I remember the day he left like a frozen moment in a cracked photograph. It was a Thursday. I was reheating leftover lasagna in the microwave, one child tugging at my sleeve, the other wailing from the next room. The house smelled of baby lotion and exhaustion. I thought I heard the front door open, and relief washed over me. I expected his arms, his smile, maybe even an apology for being late. But he came in with suitcases, and a smirk. "I'm done," he said flatly, like it was just another errand. "I've met someone. She's got her life together. She's not stuck like you." Then, like a final insult tossed over his shoulder, he handed me a manila envelope. "Here are the divorce papers." The sauce hissed and bubbled behind me in the microwave, but I couldn't hear anything except my heart cracking wide open. He didn't just walk out on me. He walked out on us. Me. Our 2 little boys. The rented 2-bedroom we had filled with love and leftovers and loud dreams built from nothing but faith and ramen noodles. He left me for a woman who hadn't carried his children through the fire of labor, who hadn't given up her sleep, her body, her ambition to support his startup dreams. She didn't have cracked heels or spit up on her shirt or lullabies memorized. She had a gold bracelet and a BMW. I watched from the living room window, baby on one hip, toddler screaming at my feet, as he tossed his bag into the back of her polished car. The sun hit her jewelry just right, like a punchline in a cruel joke. And I remember thinking, she doesn't know he grinds his teeth at night, or that he never closes the cereal box. She doesn't know the man she's getting, but I do. And I know he'll leave her too eventually. But I couldn't afford to wait for karma. I had diapers to buy, rent to cover, and grief to chew through like nails in my throat. He said he loved me, but I guess love has a price tag, and mine wasn't enough. But what he didn't realize, standing there in his pressed shirt and borrowed ego, was this. When he walked out, he didn't just leave. He handed me something far more powerful than love. He gave me a reason to rise. People think revenge starts with anger. Doesn't. Starts with silence. A kind of silent scream that doesn't stop. It lives under your skin while you're cleaning vomit off the floor at 2 a.m., while your fingers bleed from cutting cost corners in your handmade bag orders, while you lie to your children that everything's fine with a smile so forced it might shatter your teeth. He took the car. He took half the savings. He took the warmth out of my son's eyes. It dimmed the day he asked, "Why doesn't Daddy love us anymore?" I wanted to scream. Instead I sewed. My mother once taught me how to sew canvas bags when I was 12. I never thought I'd be doing it to keep my kids fed. I couldn't afford babysitters. So I would strap my youngest son onto my chest, hands shaking from sleep deprivation, and sit cross-legged in front of a second-hand sewing machine I'd bought with borrowed money and blind faith. I took orders online, Custom tote bags, diaper bags, book sleeves, anything I could stitch and sell. Mira, that was the name I gave it. What she carries, carries her. What I didn't have in money, I wrapped in meaning. In those days I didn't sleep. I couldn't afford that either. Every night, when the orders were done and the children finally fell asleep, I'd sit alone at the kitchen table and think about the day he left. About the moment he told me she was just a friend. How my gut had screamed the truth months before he admitted it. How I found the hotel receipt folded in the back of his jeans, like a final insult. But even that didn't hurt as much as what came after. The cold court hearing where he told the judge I wasn't financially stable. Where he tried to take the kids. He tried to take them from me. That day something inside me burned out. And something colder took its place. I stopped asking why me. And started asking what next. I researched. I studied. I didn't just want to build a business. I wanted to build something he could never touch. Something he could never understand. He chased gold. I would become it. I started learning digital marketing from YouTube at night, mastering Facebook ads by trial and error with a $5 daily budget. Sometimes it worked. Sometimes it didn't. But every mistake taught me more than he ever did. The orders doubled, then tripled. Soon I was shipping to 3 cities. I turned my living room into a mini warehouse, and my WhatsApp into a customer service line. Had no employees, just rage, and faith, and stitches that bled ambition. They didn't ask for any of this, but their smiles when I gave them beautiful clutches I had sewn myself. That was more than revenge. That was resurrection. My son, he was 4 when he told me, "Mama, you're magic." He didn't know the truth, that I was breaking inside, that sometimes I cried into the fabric I was folding. That sometimes I felt like a failure wrapped in cotton. But I smiled, and I kept sewing, because I knew something he didn't. This wasn't the end. It was the prologue. 6 months later he messaged, "Just checking in. How are the kids?" I didn't reply. He followed up with, "Let me know if you need anything." That one made me laugh. Cold, bitter laughter. He hadn't paid child support in months. And now he wanted to check in. He didn't care about the kids. He wanted something else. Reassurance that I was still beneath him. I said nothing. I blocked the number. But I saved the screenshot. One day I'd frame it. People only see the highlights. They don't see the mold in the rented apartment. The food I skipped to make grocery bills work. The moments I wanted to call him. Not to get him back, but to scream, "Are you happy now?" They don't see the nights I got sick and still had to pack orders while shivering with fever. But all of it, the hunger, the betrayal, the exhaustion, it became steel in my spine. The first time I crossed 100,000 in monthly revenue, I didn't celebrate. I just stood in my bedroom, holding the receipt, tears running down my cheeks. My kids were asleep, and I whispered to no one, "We're going to be okay." That was the day I stopped being his ex-wife and started becoming my own woman. I learned early. Healing isn't quiet. Screams. It sobs at 2 a.m. while you're rocking a feverish child with one hand and typing client emails with the other. It begs for sleep when you have 3 orders to pack and only 2 hours before the daycare opens. It's lonely, sharp, unrelenting, but it's also mine. And slowly I owned it. I began branding myself as the working single mom who doesn't fold. I told my story online. Not the sob version, the real one. Orders started coming in. Small at first. 1 clutch bag a week. Then 2. Then 5. Then I started turning away clients because my hands couldn't keep up. By the end of year 1, I'd turned my bedroom into a production studio. My dining room was now a packing station. And my kids, they'd learned to sort ribbons by color and tape boxes like pros. I didn't just build a business. I built resilience. I didn't hustle for revenge. I hustled because I had mouths to feed, a roof to keep, and a heart that refused to stay broken. But life has a twisted sense of humor. Because that's when I saw him again. It happened at a local startup summit. I was there to meet a supplier. Nothing flashy, just coffee and quick negotiations. I wore my best neutral-tone blazer and a scarf my daughter had stained with juice that morning. I looked tired. I was tired. And then I heard his laugh. That arrogant nasal chuckle that once filled our kitchen when he read out Reddit threads or laughed at how cringe I was for selling bags online. He stood with his arm around her, the richer girl, a beauty in designer heels, effortlessly posing beside their joint startup banner. They hadn't recognized me. Not yet. But I recognized the name of their company. It was stamped on the side of the booths. Gentech, seamless smart logistics for e-commerce. A logistics company. For small online businesses. My stomach turned. He'd copied my dream, no, our dream. The one we scribbled on napkins before he decided I wasn't elevated enough. Only now, he'd funded it with her money. She had the brand and he had the blueprint. My blueprint. And I had resentment. But I smiled, nodded, walked past like I didn't know who they were. Revenge doesn't need announcements. Just needs precision. That night I didn't cry. I didn't scream into a pillow or drink coffee. I opened my laptop and started studying the logistics industry like it was my second job. Because here's the thing, they'd taken my idea. But they were running it for profit. I was going to run mine for blood. I created a new vertical in my business. End-to-end delivery optimization for solo female creators. Loyal audience. I gave them everything I wished I had. Affordable rates, mother-friendly delivery windows, flexible payment plans. And I did it all under a new company name. They didn't even see me coming. 6 months in, Gentech had a PR issue. Late deliveries. Accusations of subcontractor mishandling. I'd heard from clients. They were tired of big logistics, treating them like background noise. I made sure my company never made that mistake. We wrote hand-signed thank you notes. We followed up. We didn't just deliver products. We delivered empathy. And slowly I watched the dominoes fall. First came the poached clients. Then the vendor partnerships they lost. Most of them now under contracts with me. Then came the tech expos where my name was suddenly everywhere. The final blow. It wasn't loud. It was an email. Hi, we're looking for a potential merger with a logistics company specializing in handcrafted verticals. Gentech mentioned your name. Are you open to talks? He'd given my name. Without knowing it was me. Accepted the meeting. Wore my best lipstick. Left the kids with my sister. Walked into the office lobby like a woman with nothing left to lose. He froze when he saw me. Like a ghost had taken human form. His voice cracked. You're you. Yes, I said, handing him my card. You told me I was slow. That no one would ever take me seriously. He leaned in. And now your business wants to merge with mine to stay afloat. His fiancée, now wife, stood behind him staring. The realization dawned in her eyes slowly, like a shadow moving over her face. Smiled. Let me think about it. And I walked out. You'd think I would have celebrated that night. Laughed maybe. Toasted something. But when I got home from that meeting, I just stood in the kitchen, staring at the fridge. My kids were asleep. Their artwork still taped to the cabinets like little victories in crayon. In my hand was the business card I'd handed to the man who once said, "No one will take you seriously with your silly side hustle." Now he needed that silly side hustle to save his drowning startup. I didn't sleep much. Not out of excitement but calculation. This wasn't just a win. This was a door. And I had to decide if I'd walk through it. Or slam it shut on his fingers. So I called my legal advisor the next morning. Get me everything you can on Gentech. Financials, partners, lawsuits, IP. I want every loose screw. He paused. You're thinking of buying them? No, I said. I'm thinking of dismantling them. A week later we met again. He came alone this time. No rich wife, no investor, no pretense. Just a desperate man wearing last year's confidence. I want to be up front, he said, trying to sound steady. We're hemorrhaging. She pulled her funding. We've lost 3 major clients to your company. I can't keep it afloat. I sipped my tea. Why come to me? Because, he muttered, avoiding my eyes. You built something I couldn't. There it was. The truth finally. Not jealousy. Not malice. But incompetence wrapped in pride. And now he was choking on it. I laid the proposal on the table. I'll acquire Gentech. Not merge. Acquire. He blinked. You'd own everything. Your software. Your logistics model. Your client list. Even your name if I want. And what happens to me? He asked, voice small. Smiled. You're out. Walk away. Your wife already has. That part wasn't just business. It was cold, precise revenge. The kind you don't light on fire. The kind you let freeze. Within a month, I owned what he built on the back of my discarded dream. Gutted it clean. I laid off the frat boy executives he hired who thought social media ads were enough to run logistics. I rehired 2 of his engineers, women both, and gave them the freedom he never did. I scrubbed the branding, changed the name, and redirected every asset to my growing empire. Kept one thing though. A framed quote he once had in his office. Don't bring emotions to business. I mounted it right above my desk, as a joke, because everything I built, it was emotional. Every sleepless night, every ignored pitch, every tiny hand tugging on my shirt while I emailed clients between diaper changes. Every time I heard, you can't do this alone. I did. And now I had the receipts. 6 months after the acquisition, I was invited to speak at a Women in Business conference. I stood on stage in a tailored suit, one I bought without checking the price tag, and shared my journey. From discarded wife to single mom. From handmade clutches on Instagram to nationwide logistics for thousands of female creators. From overlooked to overbooked. And when the applause faded, I stepped into the lobby. And saw him again. He looked older. Not in years, in weight. Guilt ages a man like nothing else. He came up to me, hat in hand, eyes hollow. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. I looked at him for a long time. Not with rage. Not even pity. Just clarity. You left me, I said quietly. With 2 babies, a broken heart, and a pile of bills. And I turned them into blueprints. He nodded. I was wrong. I know. There was silence. Then I handed him a flyer, one of my newer ventures. Fund her. Grants for women rebuilding after divorce. You can't apply, I said. But maybe your daughter will one day. I walked away. I didn't ruin his life. I rebuilt mine so brightly. He could no longer look at it without blinking. That's the difference between revenge and power. One ends, the other echoes. Tell me below. Have you ever turned pain into purpose? Or witnessed a quiet storm that changed everything? If my journey meant something to you, if it made you feel seen, strong, or simply less alone, please like and subscribe. Your support keeps these stories alive. Thank you for being part of this healing. Until next time, stay steady, stay kind.